Let me start by giving great appreciation for 2018 BJRI workshop organizer just to give me this chance just to present behalf of the National Wheat Research Program for some success on the wheat research activity. And my title is Building Resilience for Ethiopian Smallholder Wheat Farmers. So in my talk, don't expect like new QTL or new application of biotechnology. Instead, just I will talk about the wheat farmers in Ethiopia. So I will start by introducing some fact about the wheat production in Ethiopia. There are 1.6 million hectares covered by wheat and 4.5 million metric ton produced per year with the productivity of 2.67. And when you see the profile of wheat under smallholder farmers, 4.7 million smallholder farmers engaged on wheat production. Out of this, 95% of them are smallholder, and 73% they are using fertilizer for wheat production, and 99% of them are just using oxen plow for field management, and 99% is rain-fed agriculture. And as you can see from the picture, almost most of the area in Ethiopia is suitable for wheat production, except the eastern part and northeast part of Ethiopia. And there are different species of wheat in Ethiopia, but bread wheat and drum wheat is highly economically important for farmers. And as you can see from the graph, there is an incremental trend starting from 1995 for the last 20 years. It was 1.3 ton per hectare, and now it's nearly 2.7, and the production also increasing from time to time. But still there is a gap, and Ethiopia import around 30% of the demand from abroad, and as you can see, the increasing of the yield in average is 3.9% per year, but the demand is increasing by 8% every year. So there is a mismatch between demand and supply. And when you see the marketable surplus, around 80% of the production is consumed by the farmers and only 20% is marketable. And out of this, 33% only for the millers, and there's a big gap for the millers. Still, there's an opportunity just to increase or expand the wheat production in Ethiopia. This graph shows there is an opportunity just to increase the production of wheat in Ethiopia, even if the average is 2.67 ton per hectare. In the country, there is some model farmers produce like 7.4 or 8 tons per hectare, which when you say model farmers, those farmers are using a full package for wheat production. There are different biotic and abiotic factors just handling the wheat production in Ethiopia, but the most important one is the biotic factor, the tree rust and other fungal disease, including the grass weed problems. There are different historically rust epidemic in Ethiopia occurring starting from 1993 up to 2016-17. The two rust, especially yellow rust and stem rust in different time. As you can see from the graph, the picture in 2010, there was 100% yield loss in some farmers' field, and the 2030-40 stem rust epidemic in the popular variety called Digalu also recording 100% yield loss. So it's a great challenge for wheat production for the smallholder farmers. So what we did, the intervention, by putting some components together with our partners. The first one, germplasm development and introduction. And the second component was fast track testing and release and accelerated multiplication. And the final was just to popularize those developing varieties to smallholder farmers. When you see the first component, germplasm development and introduction, starting from 2010, just we are increasing our number of germplasm evaluation, both local cross and introduction from CGR center in main season and off season. And also we developed some special set, especially from CMIT, elite bred with Ethiopian seed. This is a special seed for Ethiopia, just concerning about the stem rust and yellow rust. And we start also some shuttle breeding program with Icarda, and we have the chance just to select some advanced line in our conditions. So from the graph, just we are evaluating more than thousands of lines every year, just to get promising line to the farmers. The second component was after identifying those lines, just the fast track testing and release procedure. As you know, the procedure of breeding is a long-term process, so we are trying to modify our breeding variety testing and release mechanism into 2 to 3 years, and we introduce some promising line, and we are trying to test those lines in multi-location, just more than 60 locations across the country, and we are also increasing the genotype per trial just to get the probability of good promising line for release. And we are also advancing our phenotyping platform, especially concerning on the disease aspect. We use different hotspot area under key location this screen nursery, including in Ethiopia and Nijoro. And we do also some seedling tests in Ambo and University of Minnesota just to complement the field result. And we also established single race nursery, especially for those dominant race in our conditions. We evaluate those advanced line under these sets in Columbia and Debrezait. And finally, we are also using some molecular work together with Washington State University just to know at least the background of our candidate line just to release in advance. The other one is technology shopping. The best example, just we introduce kingbird variety from Kenya, and we multiply the seed and register within 1 year just to deliver to the farmers. The other one is after developing the variety, this accelerating seed multiplication strategy. The main challenge just after developing the variety is just to deliver the variety to the farmers. So we use pre and post-release seed multiplication strategy. When I say pre-release, that is the lines under yield trial also produce the seed just to get enough amount of seed just the time of release. This day, just when we release variety, we have at least 2 tons for each candidate just to deliver, to shorten the time of release and delivering to the farmers. And we use different public, private seed enterprise, and some farmers field as community seed multiplication to accelerate the seed multiplication process. And we use also 2 cropping cycle per year, the main season using by rain-fed and off-season using irrigation just to multiply the seed, and planting with low seed rate also the other strategy. The normal recommendation 100 kg per hectare, but sometimes we are using below 50 kg per hectare just to increase the seed multiplication rates. This is one of our effort in 2017-18, and we produce 637 tons of initial seed, that means breeder, pre-basic, and basic seed. As you can see from maybe it's not visible, but most of the varieties are newly released and rust resistance varieties just to replace those susceptible varieties. This is also the seed produced in 2017-18 from private farmers, farmer cooperation union, and farmer seed association just to accelerate the seed multiplication. After seed multiplication, the other component is popularization and scaling out of the technologies to the farmers. We are using different strategies just to popularize the newly released varieties. Some of the strategies are integration of demonstration and seed multiplication under farmers' condition, regular training of subject matter specialists, DAs, and farmers, field day and exchange visit between farmers, develop revolving seed loan to the farmers, especially those newly released varieties and rust resistance one, and emergency seed supply in case there is, in some year there is epidemics in some areas, so we'll give emergency seed to those farmers load their seed production by rust. So these are the demonstration what we did in 2007, starting from 2015. We demonstrate more than 3,858 different demonstrations across the country, especially in 4 regions. And this one is the certified wheat seed provision to the model farmers as a loan, and more than 1,240 tons of seed distributed for the last 3 years. And as a case example, 18 wheat varieties, different varieties, just to mix the varietal composition, just to protect the mega variety issue. And more than 36,000 model farmers benefit from this initiative. The other one is capacity building of the scientists by using different training in country and Mexico, Kenya, Egypt, and Morocco by collaboration with our partners, and technical backstopping, especially when we select varieties in our yield trial, just we are doing together with the CVIT and ICARDA scientists, just to share experience between us, and physical capacity building. These are some of the achievements we made so far. Just it was below 1.8 ton per hectare in 1995, but now it's 2.67, but still below world average. But there's a possibility just to increase the production of wheat in Ethiopia. And when you see the production, there is an increment trend every year by 0.16 million metric ton, and the productivity 0.07 ton per hectare per year. So starting from 2010, we released almost nearly 30 different varieties from the national program as well as the regional wheat research program. So in average, 3 to 4 varieties released every year just to deliver to the farmers. When you see the varietal composition, for example, in 2010, Kupsa, the major varieties were Kupsa, Pavan, and Digalu. But in 2050-60, the major varieties were Kakaba and Danda. These are rust resistance varieties, and they are replacing the Kupsa variety, but still farmers grow Kupsa due to its high yielding behavior. And when you see the varietal condition across Ethiopia in 2010, most of the varieties were susceptible for rust, but in 2013, most of them are MR type reaction. So the effect, when you see the effect, when you see the effects, the environment was suitable in 2010, in 2030, especially for yellow rust. And when you see the time and the place of occurrence, the same place, especially in the wheat belt area called Asasa. But when you see the awareness at that time, in 2010, the awareness of rust very low, and the awareness in 2030 was very high because of the training and other early warning system. And when you see the varieties, most of the varieties were very susceptible in 2010. The mega varieties were Upsa and Galama, nearly covering 50% of the wheat production area. But in 2030, more varieties grown, and they are mostly resistance variety. And when you see the loss, there was high loss up to 100%, but in 2030, there is no loss due to this awareness and resistance variety. And the productivity is decreased in 2010, and in 2030, the productivity is increasing. And also the national program received different recognition from different angles just for the contribution of deploying high rust resistance varieties to resource for farmers. And these are our future direction by the National Wheat Research Program. The first one is avoid wider use of mega variety. This is the main cause for frequent epidemic of rust in Ethiopia. And strong evaluation of germplasm, including the local cross and introduction from CGR centers, and using modern tools for important traits, especially for disease, because we are doing mainly on the resistance breeding, so it's better to incorporate some modern tool just to evaluate our lines. Support rapid seed multiplication and distribution. This is the main part, just to deliver the seed or the newly released varieties to the farmers. And develop variety deployment strategy. The main problem in Ethiopia is just to use one variety across all locations. So just to avoid such a kind of problem, just it's better to develop variety deployment strategy. It needs a policy issue. And periodic monitoring of risk and virulence is very important, just for early warning and awareness creation. And the final one is enhance research capacity, both facility and manpower. Finally, I would like to thank wheat farmers, those innocent farmers. They are believing in our research and they are adopting our technologies, and donors, USAID, Bill and Melinda Gates, and World Bank and Africa Development Bank, and there are different projects involved on these activities. And I would like to thank our partners, CIMIT, ICARDA, and BGRI, DGGW, and DRRW, Cornell, Minnesota, and University of Queensland. Thank you very much.
Thank you.